Willie Hodgson here with San Jose Motosport, home of San Jose BMW. Today I want to talk to you a little bit about R9Ts. Really common question we get is, what is the difference between the R9Ts? So currently, R9T is a 1200cc boxer motor. Really, this is BMW's history platform. Really, really cool. It's what they're known for. They do a great job. They're a very awesome bike. Neutral handling, fun. So today we have an RnineT Standard, or OG as we call it, Original Gangsters for those who don't know, and then the RnineT Pure. They also have two other variants. One is the Scrambler, and just like it sounds, the Scrambler has a light off-road capabilities. And for that, they offer a 19-inch front rim, so a little bit larger. You can see these both have 17s, and a high pipe design. So this is really a throwback kind of to the early off-road bikes. And then they have an RnineT Urban GS, and the Urban GS is based on the Scrambler platform. So the other two things that I was mentioning, the 19-inch front also apply, and the high pipe. But today, let's dive into the RnineT original OG and the Pure and kind of talk about some of those differences. I gotta say, first and foremost, before we start the video, there is no replacement for coming into the dealership and throwing your leg over a bike or talking to an expert, about the things that really interest you and your specific needs. So we'll try to cover some of this stuff, and I'm sure this will be a helpful video, but please don't hesitate to come in. We'd love to help you on the journey. So let's jump in. So right off the bat, we'll talk about the wheels. So looking at the wheels here, you can see they both have spoke wheels in this example. On this R9T, it has the 719. So 719 is a custom line offered by BMW. This is the premium stuff. So when you see a real cool paint job or something like this wheel here, this is always done under the 719 line. So we can see this example on the R9T Pure. It has this really cool custom paint, and that's offered under the 719. So what makes this as a 719 wheel is that the spoke nipples actually don't penetrate the rim. The way the rim is designed and built, the spoke nipples stay outside. So this is a true tubeless setup. So although this one has a tubeless tire on it, it does have a tube inside of it, and that's because the spoke nipple penetrates the rim and therefore requires sealing for the tubeless. There's not a huge difference in performance. These are just differences. Some people really like it, but you can see this offers a really cool look and also a cool feature to it. So the R9T Pure can also be purchased with a cast wheel, and the cast wheel just gives it a little bit different look. The cast wheels are really nice because they're easier to keep clean. They run a tiny bit truer. I would say the trade-off is the spokes have a little bit more strength. That's why you typically see them on an off-road bike. So you can see this one here has the option for spoke wheels. On the R9T OG, the original one, you can get it with a different spoke wheel, not this upgraded 719, but does not offer it with a cast wheel. So really, it's going to be spokes on this one, and could be a cast or a spoke on this one. All right, moving from the wheels up to the suspension, on the R9T Standard, it's not offered in a low chassis. That's where we come into play here at San Jose BMW. We are experts in this. We have a on-site chassis engineer and a suspension service. Both are performed through someone who's got 30 plus years suspension knowledge. We work with him on levels with S1000s and racing, down to just customizing R9Ts and getting that perfect ride for every customer. So this particular bike can be lowered here by us in-house, but only comes in one chassis height. When we're talking about the R9T Pure, this comes in a low chassis or a standard chassis height. Both of them do come with this traditional fork. So traditional fork, when you look at traditional bikes, the steel stanchion tube is bolted into the triple clamp and the slider moves up and down. So when we're looking at this R9T, the original version, this has something called an inverted fork. We see this in modern motorcycles, and basically the purpose for it is there's less reciprocating weight, so the tire can follow the pavement better, leads to a better, smoother ride and just a little bit higher performance. So if performance and suspension performance is super important to you, you'd obviously be a lot closer by going with this R9T Standard. Moving to the rear suspension, they have the same rear shock on these. They both can add preload, and preload's done for rider laden weight. So whether it's you solo riding or you and a passenger, you can just reach down with the knob right here, put some turns in that, and you can also control the rebound. Does not have external compression adjustment. However, again, like I was mentioning on the R9T Standard, with the resources we have here, with the suspension room we have here, we can modify the rear shocks stock, allowing for different performance, different load capabilities, or chassis height, or we can also do the same with an aftermarket shock. What's kind of cool is when you're using a stock shock, we can save you a ton of money. It's not quite as expensive as throwing the shock away and putting a new one in. And once we get our hands on them and tune them, they work really, really well. So going from the suspension, moving upwards here, you can see on the R9T Pure, being a very value-driven bike, this one just has an speedometer, where the R9T OG, the original, has got a speedometer and a tachometer. But with respect to what BMW is trying to do here and allow for a very customizable platform, we can easily add the tachometer on here, a little bit of programming, and off you go, and you would have that feature. I would say though that both of these bikes, all the R9Ts, they're very transparent. When you ride them, the bike communicates really well. It lets you know where it wants to cruise. It lets you know when you want to shift. So I don't think the tachometer is needed, but if you're someone that really likes it and wants it, there is that option. You can add that later. All right, so from there, going to the gas tanks, you can see this one's got a complete paint job with no exposed areas. That's because this is a steel tank on the R9T Pure. It does have this really cool 719 paint job, and you can get a Pure with a 719 aluminum tank like comes on this one here. So when we're looking at it, you can see this side knee pocket. This is a really cool surface treatment where they're allowing the aluminum tank to show through, and they did this nice brushing on it with a clear coat. Clear coat's going to prevent any kind of corrosion, just make it a little bit more durable. If you tried to do that on a steel tank like the one on this bike, you'd obviously see rust and things like that, which I don't know, sounds kind of cool if you ask me. But you can get the Pure with a brushed aluminum tank. So again, just referring to all the options and all the variants. If you come down here and check out the R9Ts, before I started the video, I wanted an idea for what bikes to use. I counted, we have 14 R9Ts, new ones in stock, and we have 6 used ones. And this is really great because no matter what modification or variants you're kind of looking for, we'll have it and we can help you either fit a chassis or look at different kind of surface treatments or suspension. And again, we do offer demos, so that's really helpful in this process. All right, moving on from there, seats. The seats are the same between the two models. Every now and then when you see a 719 paint job, a really cool one, it'll also come with the option of a little tail hump. And that's because we know it's not easy to go out and match some of these really cool colors and amazing paint jobs. So they'll provide it with that. And in those cases, it does come with the passenger seat. And both of them can be added after the fact. We got, again, a big parts department with lots of these accessories in stock. One center bolt right here on both of them. The passenger seat lifts off. You can put one of the tail humps on there. It's got a little storage in it, pretty cool setup. Neither of these models come with the tail hump here, but there are some, again, like I referenced, that do come with them. The subframe under that, so on the RnineT Standard and the RnineT Pure, this rear subframe designed for the passenger that have the passenger foot pegs on it can be removed. You do need to add a pipe hanger for both models, because if you take a look at it, it's on this side, unfortunately. The pipe does hang off that subframe, but we got them in stock and you can put that on there. It really cleans up the rear end, gives it a really nice kind of look to it. And so that's the same on both of these. It does start to take a little bit of a difference when we talk about the bobbing of a bike. So when you hear bobber, or the idea of like bobbing a bike, it's just really chopping it off really short. So typically it ends after the rider's seat. So on this particular model, on the RnineT Standard one, or the OG, I'm just going to refer to OG, 2 bolts on each side, and this last little part of the subframe can be removed. Obviously, you are housing this stuff, so it takes a little bit more design and R&D to get the components we need hung. But the bike would end right here. If you haven't seen it, check out our custom bikes page. We got a really cool one that's bobbed with custom wrapped seat and a lot of modifications, but you'll see for what I'm talking about and what that look is like. So under our custom bikes tab on the website, click on it and you'll see a nice example of a bobbed bike. So moving over here to the Pure, this is where it takes a difference. This portion here, it can't be removed quite as easily. So it can be removed, but we're talking about cutting and heavily modifying and not really the ability to go back. So where this one will unbolt and allow for it to be bobbed, you could still bob this one. It's just more of a permanent modification. So again, knowing which one to start with is really important, because we want to make sure that we have places to go and we can, modify the bike in the way you want. All right, moving from there down to the exhaust system. These two actually both have the dual Akrapovic muffler on it. That is an option for the R9T Pure. It doesn't come with it without selecting that option. It comes with a single can, still really nice, really sexy, good noise muffler. But as you can tell here with this example, or maybe you can't, it's a little hidden by the side, but this one does have the option dual muffler. On the R9T, the OG, it comes with the dual muffler, the dual Akrapovic muffler. It's got a really cool surface treatment on it. Looks really, really nice. So I think we've touched on pretty much all the options between the two. They both have great rideability. These are great bikes. Don't be intimidated by the 1200 cc's. This is a low RPM, lots of torque, short shift in it, grunting around town, fun, usable power range for riders of all skill sets. I own one again myself, and I really, really enjoy it. It's fun to go tromp around up in the mountains on the weekends. I get endless compliments on it, and the nice thing is I still got a lot of really great safety features. So before we kind of end this video, both these bikes, you know, when we're talking about the BMW line, BMW really cares about safety, and they're constantly innovating. So a couple things they added in recent history on this R9T is they went to a fly-by-wire system, and this is really cool because they were able to add cruise control without adding a lot of complicated cables and new computers and things like that. So on a fly-by-wire system, the ECU is already controlling the air metering of the throttle bodies. So really the cruise control button is just a button telling the ECU hold this speed, and it will do so. And when it's integrated like that, it's got a ton of really awesome, easy shutoffs that in a split of a second, you can shut the cruise control off. So that's a newer feature for the R9Ts. And then with that, they were able to refine the ride modes and add ride modes. So both of them have a wet weather riding mode, an in-town dry weather riding, and then more of like a sport riding mode. When we're talking about the other two variances, the Scrambler and the Urban GS, those have off-road riding modes because, again, with the background of being light off-roading, they want to make sure that it's really customizable for your type of ride. Both have ABS Pro, and ABS Pro is an awesome safety feature. So up to this point, you know, ABS has just been a very simple system. It's looking at wheel speed sensors. When, you know, let's say the front wheel changes 10% from the front to the rear, it's going to do something like activate ABS. And so therefore it has to make sacrifices braking straight up and down in order for it to be as valuable when it's leaned over. So you're kind of making sacrifices on both ends. Now with the introduction of ABS Pro, they're able to not only take into account the wheel speed sensors, but it also can look at lean angle, it can look at riding mode. You know, why does that matter? Because if you have something like rain mode, it knows the traction levels are low, and it can you know, change the intervention and how it works to make sure it's still going to be functional when like wet weather riding conditions, so to speak, or when you're really leaned over. So what that means is you'll actually be able to put on the brakes harder and get more braking forces straight up and down. And it'll be more effective when you're leaned over. And the last feature of ABS Pro, which is really, really great, is if you are out here in San Jose enjoying some of these amazing roads we have, you know, up in the mountains, you're near leaned over, and there's an instance where you need to use a lot of brake and ABS is activated. Part of ABS Pro is the ability for the bike to maintain a line while ABS is activated. So traditional ABS systems, once they intervene, the bike wants to stand up, which pushes you offline and doesn't allow you to maintain your line. With ABS Pro, when you're leaned over and ABS is activated, it allows you to maintain your line, stay in your lane, obviously being a much safer braking experience. So again, hats off to BMW for allowing us to continually customize these bikes and coming up with new ways to do so, and also keeping us safe with some of these really awesome riding modes and features like ABS Pro. Another thing they changed on this new one was the airbox. So previously, some of these customs you've seen with like pod filters and things like that, where the airbox is removed, required you to really dismantle the bike to a heavy degree, including pulling the subframe off. They kind of redesigned it so the airbox can come in and out without the subframe being removed. So it just makes it for a much easier, cool customization without spending a ton of money. If you're interested in any of these things, interested in doing any of that stuff, interested in purchasing an R9T, you want to demo one, you want to learn more about them, please reach out. Both of our saleswomen have a ton of riding experience and a ton of R9T experience. Amy here has owned an R9T for many, many years and can help anyone with fitment of an R9T or understanding the differences. We're all experts. Please reach out. We look forward to hearing from you soon. Have a great day.